Today we decided we wanted to go see downtown San Diego, so hopefully we can brave the rain and see a lot of cool things.
Like the USS Midway.
It's the San Diego jungle.
Look, Joshua, a wild wrangler in its natural habitat.
We've seen good reviews online for Richard Walker's Pancake House, so we decided to try it out for breakfast this morning. After breakfast, we decided to hop on the trolley to tour around downtown San Diego. It was not quite what we were expecting, and you did not see quite as much touristy stuff as we thought we were going to, but it was still a nice little break and a very interesting experience to ride public transportation. I'm definitely glad this isn't something that I have to do every day, but as we were riding around, we realized that we could get off at Old Town, so we decided to stop and explore. Old Town San Diego was filled with lots of fun little shops and buildings to look around in. Unfortunately, it was raining quite a bit and we did not get to explore it quite as much as we would have liked, but it was still a very fun experience and a very different vibe from the rest of downtown San Diego. There were a lot of museums showing what old school San Diego may have looked like this house shown here. There was also some pretty unique stuff in the museums, like seeing how much different metals weigh. Interesting. Oh, gold. Very heavy. Well, Old Town was kind of a bust due to lots of rain, but we're going to try to take advantage of this break in the storm and go see the USS Midway. As you boarded the USS Midway, there was a flag for each branch of the military, honoring the men and women that proudly serve our country to fight for our freedoms. Oh, this is cool. Even on this lower level ship, there were tons of planes stored that didn't fit on the main deck. They even had some that you could sit inside of, but I'm pretty sure they were for kids. Oh well. There was a really cool diagram on the ship showing the size difference between the U.S. Navy's very first aircraft carrier, the USS Langley, and a modern aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford. A really interesting fact we learned about these planes was to save space on the deck, a lot of planes had wings that were able to fold up like this one shown here. We learned that all the different colors mean different jobs for people on the flight deck. For example, the guy in the red shirt would be in charge of bombs, missiles, and rockets, and the girl in the yellow shirt would be in charge of making sure the planes can be taxied to their spot on the aircraft carrier. Josh decided as we were walking around that he was a very appropriate height for all these doorways. However, I don't think he would have survived well in the military. I, however, decided that I would be way too claustrophobic to live in such tight spaces, and I really give it to the men and women that live on these ships for long periods of time. Of course, on the USS Midway, it was only men that were aboard the ship, as in this point in U.S. history, women were not allowed to be on aircraft carriers that had the potential to go into a battle.
room that you're standing in right now is a room that we call the War Room. And it's here that we planned the strike operations conducted against Saddam Hussein in January 1991.
The technology on the ship was very different than what you'd see in a modern-day aircraft carrier.
Pre-internet internet. They would stick messages up into these tubes and they would go to other places in the ship.
It's like the email that they would use today on a modern aircraft carrier. I would not like to be the guy controlling all phone calls on the boat via switchboard and having to keep track of them on a whiteboard, or having to send SOS signals via Morse code. SOS!
So this is where they got their commands of what they needed to do.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm guessing these are all the planes that have flown on and off this ship.
It's really cool.
Head up on this level. Everyone else up here that I'm going to describe stands a 4-hour watch, but they're up here for 12, 13 hours straight. They eat in those chairs. Now, who else is up here? This status board swings around to where my arm is so that the air boss can read the names of all the air crew that are in the air or about to launch on the catapults. It's maintained by a petty officer standing behind it on this side, keeping it updated with a grease pencil and a rag. Of course, he has to write backwards so that they can read it.
When we were on the ship, I learned that Top Gun was not just a movie, but an actual flight training school.
So this is the cookbook of some of the food that they would make on the ship. And if you look here, for example, this recipe called for 78 pounds of Cornish hen.
Here are some of the uniforms worn by the U.S. military starting in 1775, all the way up to the early 1940s when the USS Midway first came into commission. The USS Midway was decommissioned in 1992, but if you look across the water in this picture, you can see the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is stationed at Naval Base San Diego. After we got off the USS Midway, we decided to explore Seaport Village and find something for dinner.
We just finished dinner at Queenstown in downtown San Diego, and I have to say this is by far the best place we've eaten on the vacation so far. We shared a shepherd's pie and meatloaf, and oh my goodness, I think we're both going to go into a food coma.
That's all for today, but check back soon as we visit the San Diego Zoo and Balboa Park.